We learn to make images in color at an early age. We scribble with each color even before we learn to draw symbols. Color is attractive, exciting, and emotional. Our eye will always be attracted to color over black and white. It's as fun as a new box of crayons. Each color has a brilliant tone competing for our attention. We want to use all of them in every drawing. When asked about our color sensibility, everyone will say they like bright colors. But the problem is that bright colors actually can cancel each other out, and the effect is lost. If everything is bright, then nothing is bright in comparison. The color theory that we learn in kindergarten is about working with pigments, paints, or crayons. And those are the processes that we'll be continuing with as we work in color theory here. These media are all based in subtractive color theory. As colors get mixed together, they get darker and dirtier. We should all be familiar with the basic color wheel, a diagram of color theory with the idea that all of the colors can be mixed from the three primary colors, yellow, red, and blue. When two of them are mixed together, they create a secondary color, orange, purple, or green. Colors opposite each other in this diagram are called complementary colors. Try to memorize this information, especially the complementary relationships. When working with red, think about green, and I'll tell you why later. But I'm sure you've noticed that when you mix colors together, the results can be less than satisfying. This is because of the subtractive process. Everything gets dirtier and duller as we mix. But also because our color wheel is a bit off. When we think of red like fire engine or stop sign or apple, and blue, sky or water, the colors we're thinking about are already muddied. So when we mix them together, we get a brownish color rather than the purple that we want. A more accurate set of primary colors would be cyan, magenta, and yellow. These are known as the process colors, process blue, process red, and process yellow, as used in commercial printing. They are also referred to as CMYK, with K representing black. The primary colors are represented in a triad, an equilateral triangle in the color wheel, as are the secondary colors, orange, purple, and green. The tertiary colors are blends located in between each primary and secondary. They are named first by the primary, hence red-orange. Notice that we use the term violet instead of purple, so we have red-violet and blue-violet. All of the designations refer to the hue, or the name of the color. Hue is one of the three properties of color. The hue is the name of the color that gives it its unique identity. The value is the relative lightness or darkness of the color. The value is separate from the hue, and some colors exist at naturally different value ranges than others. The intensity is the brightness or dullness of a color. This is separate and independent from the value and hue. So bright is different than light. Getting to know and control these attributes separately is key to learning to use color effectively. You might also encounter HLS as a color mode on your computer. The H stands for hue, the L for value, and the S for saturation or intensity. So HLS is hue, value, and intensity. Three other important terms in working with color are tints, shades, and tones. A tint is a lighter version of a color, a shade is a darker version, and a tone is a duller version. So when you hear of a tinted window in a car, it's actually a shaded window, but a window shade means something else entirely different. Before we leave the color wheel, there's one other important quality of color that we should consider. That is the warmth or coolness of any given color. Sometimes you can analyze the hue, the value, the saturation, and still not be sure about a color relationship. When in doubt, you can also use the warm-cool association to compare colors and get desired effects. Now, to get a fuller understanding of the three properties of color and their potential uses, I want us to consider the concept of a color sphere. In this model, the darker colors will be located toward the top and the lighter colors towards the bottom. The North Pole is black, the South Pole is white, the core is gray, and so on. The brightest colors are represented by the color wheel, which is located along a tilted equator. It is tilted because yellow is closer to the South Pole, and purple is darker or closer to the North Pole. Red and blue are also darker than middle gray, and green and orange are lighter than that middle value. The hues are represented by the longitudinal lines from north to south. This equator is our comfort zone, where we hang out most of the time. But I want to encourage exploration of the globe and expose ourselves to more diversity. You may have noticed that there's a lot of territory on this side of the globe that is unexplored. For instance, what happens in these nether regions? As our naturally dark colors, red, blue, and purple, get lighter, they change their identity. So much so that we have a new hue or a new name for them. This is the world of pastels. Red becomes pink, purple becomes lavender, and blue becomes baby blue, or powder blue, or cerulean blue, or azure, or sky blue, or teal. You get the idea. But what about this large, uncharted territory up above? What happens when the naturally light colors go into a darker range? Here's an area that few artists and designers use effectively. These are the browns, the most reviled and misunderstood colors in the palette. We're trained to despise these colors and keep them out of our pictures. This is understandable. When we are painting and our palette gets dirty, we end up with muddy colors. But intentional use is something altogether different. Let's rethink what browns are. Browns are the color of nature. Trees are brown, leaves are brown, rocks are brown, wood is brown, dirt is brown. Look around us and see how much of the world is beautiful browns. Learn to differentiate browns. An orange brown is sienna. A yellow brown is ochre. A blue brown is umber. A green brown. Brown is a range. Beige, sienna, tan, sepia. Coffee is brown. What tint do you like your coffee? Chocolate is brown. And oh yeah, one other important thing is brown. Us. Brown is the color of skin. All of us are different shades and tints of brown. Think of it this way, and color can be a unifying factor rather than a divisive one. We need to relearn and love brown in all its variety. Let's go back again and look at our box of crayons with all their bright artificial colors. These colors are not very natural, but rather plastic or man-made. But crayons didn't always look this way. They changed over the years with public tastes. The old palette of Crayola crayons was much more naturalistic, leaning towards the full range of the color sphere, including the earth tones. I encourage you to look for and use these duller tones, and when you use a single bright color, it will really look bright in comparison.